Day 28, and I am in the void. When we're in the void, the mind will tell us why we can't create, why life is just nothingness and it's emptiness. And the mind will convince us that we're going to be in the void forever and that we're never going to find our purpose and that we're never going to live with passion and that we're just going to be sitting here in the freaking spaciousness, right? And that was kind of what the mind was telling me today. The mind's like, a video's not coming through today. 100 days of shooting a video every day. Don't you know that some days you're going to be in the void and you're not going to feel inspired or have that passion? And what meditating for so long is really teaching me more than anything, which is going to sound so obvious, but it's just a fact, is like, wow, I'm really not my thoughts. And you can just watch the stories go through and you just start getting more and more space from these stories. And you start seeing that that's just a story. That's not who I am. And I don't need to identify with that as my truth. And it's just really a lot of liberation and freedom when we can feel that and when we have that direct experience, right? Because I know for a long time I had that intellectual understanding. It was airtight, I got it, I'm not my thoughts. But it's not until we really go within and start cultivating that space that we can actually have that direct experience of it. And that direct experience of it is so powerful. Because then, instead of being in a fight with the mind or thinking that the mind is some type of enemy that just needs to be defeated, we can have compassion with the mind and we can see that it's just an innocent survival machine that is based in wanting, survival and safety. So that's been really helpful. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is, what is the void, The void is when we feel like maybe expansiveness up here. We're opened up, we have these spiritual understandings, we know the truth so much deeper than we ever did. Our third eye is open, we can see reality for what it is. But maybe we're just starting to feel like it's almost pointless, and like we can see the vastness and like the infinite nature of life. And so we start like spinning out in this depth of, well, what is the purpose of all this? Why do anything, right? That's kind of the void where we might have this deep sense of peace and spaciousness, but we're not really connected to like our purpose, our passion. The divine will is not flowing through us as us. And when I was in my meditation, when I was literally feeling myself in the void, that's what I was feeling. I was feeling a spaciousness up here, but a numbness, a deadening in here. I was feeling no energy in here, right? And that's what I want to explain to you guys. From my personal experience, when I'm in the void, it's because I'm not opened up through here or in my gut. And what the movement was for me was, I'm going to try to feel if I can open in my heart, if I can open in my gut. And it's when we, to open the heart and to open the gut, we must go deep, deep within. A lot of times in meditation, sometimes it's like, I'm going to meditate real hard, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to reflect. I'm going to contemplate. That's a movement of meditation. And for me, that was my movement for so long. But what that does is it keeps us up here. It keeps our consciousness up here. And we might have a third eye opening. We might feel our crown opening. And that can be profound. And that can be illuminating and beautiful. But if we're up here, what happens is we don't go as deep into the heart as we could. We don't go as deep into the gut as we could. When you're meditating, you might notice that if you bring your consciousness into the body, you might notice that your gut is really clenched. And you might notice that your heart is being covered, is being closed by a layer of something you don't want to feel. So if you're in the void right now and you have the understanding of spirituality and the infiniteness of, of existence, and that you're immortal and that you are a spiritual being and you're getting this, but you're not feeling connected to your power. You're not feeling your heart open to really take you, to be swept away by your passion in life. The movement is to come into the body, to feel deep into the heart, to feel deep into the gut. And if you're a person who meditates a lot, but you sort of stay up here in the third eye and the crown, this can be a very, very challenging movement. because you're gonna feel a lot. You have to feel through the conditioning, the pain, the karmic trauma you've encountered to feel deep into your heart, to feel deep into that sweetness, that goodness, that real, that really high loving vibration that can start emanating from our heart when we go deep enough into it. And in the gut, you're going to have to feel through so much resistance. The mind is terrified of your gut opening because the mind knows when the gut opens, because the gut is the seat of your power. Your solar plexus is the seat of your power. The mind knows that when that opens, what comes from that is going to dissolve the mind, is literally going to annihilate who you thought you were. And if you think you're the mind, opening your gut is going to be death, right? So that's why so many people on the spiritual path are terrified of opening the gut, is because it literally annihilates and really just demolishes who we think we are. Because if we think we're the mind, opening the gut's going to dissolve that. We're going to step into our power of something so much greater than the mind. And that is when we connect to that passion. That's when that's when we open up the space. When we open up our heart, when we open up our gut, that's when we open up the space for the divine will to flow in. If the divine will can't flow into us, then it can't live through us as us. If we're just trying to live if we have a crown opening and a third eye opening, and we're awakened, but we're still trying to live for the egoic will, for the personal will, we're gonna feel deadened inside, and we're not gonna feel driven by it, because that's not enough anymore. When we're awakened beings, the personal will just isn't enough. It's not satisfying enough. It's not fulfilling enough. But if we keep trying to beat that same drum, and we keep trying to live that same path, and we keep trying to do the same things we've always done, and we're unwilling to open the heart and open the gut and take the path of the unknown, to take the path of uncertainty, then we're gonna feel that movement of what's the point? This is silly. This is nonsense. This feels like nothingness, Why am I even here? I just want to go back home. We're gonna feel those things. But if we can bring our consciousness into our body, and if we can open ourselves to feeling all the stuff in here that's keeping the heart closed, that's keeping the gut clenched, well, then something really powerful and magical can happen. Because here's the truth. The deeper you go in here, the deeper you go into the gut and the heart, the more that source shines out. So if we're in the void, we can feel the frustrating part about the void. In my personal experience, was I felt so much expansiveness right within, and my third eye was open and my crown was open, and I could just see reality so clearly. And a deep part of me wanted to help, wanted to serve. But that expansiveness couldn't shine outwards. It couldn't expand outwards because I wasn't going deep enough within my own heart, within my own gut, right? And it wasn't until my teacher asked me, what's your relationship with God? What's your relationship with the intelligence of life? With Source? It wasn't until I was asked this question that I finally opened myself to something greater. That I finally said, God, I don't care what happens to me. I am a vessel of service to anchor your love and your peace and your joy. I am a divine instrument here on earth to serve you. Help me to surrender my personal and egoic desires to you. It wasn't until I cultivated that movement that my heart started opening. And then once our heart starts opening, that's when the void it becomes something that we're not worried about anymore. I was in the void. Truthfully, when I sat down to shoot this video, I was in the void. But when we're in the void, it's always just start. Just start. Just start praying. Just start, even if you're gonna have so much resistance, because when we're in the void, a lot of times we're just in the mind, right? And the mind is going to resist prayer. The mind is going to resist opening to something greater. The mind is going to resist surrendering, because that's what you're surrendering. You're surrendering the mind. You're surrendering living through the egoic mind for something greater. And that something greater is going to ask you to open and to live through your heart. It's going to ask you to open your gut. Because if you just have an open heart, but you haven't anchored and connected to your inner power, then you can't serve. Then you can't serve at the, you're not going to have that strength to do what needs to be done. Because sometimes living through the heart is going to ask you to do some really difficult things. And if you're not connected to your power, you're kind of just going to get knocked over. And that's okay, because you learn from that. Because when you're getting knocked over, when you're feeling powerless and helpless, when you're feeling overly vulnerable and kind of like a victim, that's a great learning lesson. That's a great reflection. And what that's telling you is to go deeper into your gut, to open up your solar plexus, to really connect to your truth, to your power. So yeah, if you're in the void, that's the message today. Are you, ask yourself, if you're in the void, am I spending all my time up here? Have you spent enough time up here, and is it now time to go into here? Is it time to go into here? Is it time to surrender the egoic and personal desires and to have the humility, to cultivate the humility to surrender to something greater? And you can call that God, the universe, whatever resonates with you, just life. Because when you do surrender to something greater, it's going to lead you into your heart. It's going to lead you into your body. It's going to lead you into feeling the things you haven't wanted to feel, so that you can be opened up, so that you can have the space for source to flow through and to live through you as you. And once the divine, once source is living through as you, then serving, it's not even a choice anymore. It's just something you have to do. It's just a natural movement. It's just, you can even be like, I'm super scared to do this, but I'm doing it anyways because it's just happening. You're just almost watching it. You're just watching the divine live through you as you. And that can be really scary for the mind. It is really scary for the mind. And that's why so many of us spend so much time in the void, because it does, as frustrating and painful and annoying as it can be, it is safer, right? It is safer for the mind. But at a certain point, the pain of just continuing to do the same old thing, of the pain of following your personal and egoic will and desires, the pain of that becomes so much greater than the pain of surrendering it and walking towards your fear of the unknown, walking towards the divine, opening towards the divine, because there is fear there. I know I had it myself. But at a certain point, the pain of facing that fear becomes so much less, and it becomes so inevitable that you so willingly just say, I don't even care what happens, God. I'm so done with following this egoic will, because I know the circle already. I know that cycle. I'm done with it. I even got super dramatic in my own mind, and I even got to a point where I said, God, I don't care if I freaking starve to death. I don't care what happens. I'm just going to listen to you in every moment, God. I'm just going to listen to you, source, and I'm done with whatever. I'm done trying to accumulate money. I'm done trying to find the perfect relationship. I'm done having this and this. I'm done living for all these egoic reasons, because I just can't do it anymore. I don't care what becomes of my life. I don't care what you turn me into, God. I don't care if I suffer public humiliation every single day the rest of my life. I am surrendering my life to you, God. I'm giving my life to you. Help me open my heart, God. Help me to open to you and to allow you to live through me as me. And that's the movement. That's how we go from the void to activated as a conduit for the divine will. Day 28. Namaste.